Hey guys, it's Chris from Deus Ex Machina, and I want this video to be quick. And I promise I won't address this topic again this week. But there's been a lot of conversations going on. There's been a lot of news, so much. Like Paco and I did a podcast a couple days ago, and it was insane how quickly it kind of went out of date as we moved on to new things. There has been cancellations of D&D Beyond. There was a cancellation of a video stream from D&D Beyond today, the time of this recording, which was Thursday, January 12th. There's just a lot going on. And I want to reiterate that regardless of what happens, Deus Ex Machina will not abandon our book line, will not abandon our settings, and we won't abandon the systems that we support, especially editions of D&D. And there are already options being fielded for compatible systems or compatible OGL licenses or sympathetic OGL licenses being put out by several major companies, and we are looking at that as options. If things turn out the way we kind of expect them to, chances are when we do our updates for Amethyst for print on demand and physical print production, the 1.0A OGL may not be present. We may be going on as an unauthorized derivative work. But what I wanted to say very specifically for this message is been this association of Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, and Dungeons and Dragons. And I think people need to understand that Dungeons and Dragons, this is common knowledge, but Dungeons and Dragons predates Wizards by a couple decades. Dungeons and Dragons predates the acquisition of Hasbro, of Wizards of the Coast. It predates a lot of these things. The people who are trying to enforce the intellectual property of Dungeons & Dragons had no hand in writing any edition of it up to and including the 5th edition that we all play. This is something that we are saying. This is a massive economic shift with Hasbro in order to turn Dungeons & Dragons into an entirely digital medium. They're trying to replicate microtransaction, seasonal passes, live service models employed by video games like FIFA and others. They want recursive payments, and they cannot do that with D&D in the current format. So they're not trying to change little things. They're trying to upend and rewrite the entire industry, which they believe they can, given the industry got somewhat rewritten with the onset of COVID. And there's been a lot of blowback, significant blowback, and I am super happy at how loud this has been. Now, some people were worried that there'd be too much apathy, and obviously we've shown with the breaking of D&D Beyond's website today that this is huge, and that WOTC can in no way move forward without destroying all their reputation. If you thought your respect for Twitter fell down in just a few months, Wizards is going to try to beat that record and then some. It's amazing how quickly the massive fan community has turned on them. But my problem is a request that you don't turn your back on Dungeons and Dragons. If you want to abandon D&D Beyond, you want to abandon Wizards of the Coast, you want to abandon Hasbro, that's all fine. That's all corporate politics. If you want to abandon them, that's fine. But Dungeons and Dragons is bigger than WOTC. It's bigger than Hasbro, and I have made comments to the fact that in 1,000 years, in a post-apocalyptic future, someone's going to be doing an archaeological dig, and they will find a player's handbook, and they will never have heard of Wizards of the Coast. They will not know who Hasbro is, and they'll look at the book and go, "Hey, life sucks in this post-apocalyptic future. Let's talk about playing characters in a fantasy world." I can guarantee that will happen. These corporations won't exist. 100 years from now, it'd be a miracle if they exist 100 years from now. D&D will exist until the last nerd has died. And so my request is to not abandon D&D. If you want to abandon these company politics and so forth, please do. But Dungeons & Dragons itself is faultless. It's a fantastic system. It's what all of us grew up on and what we were weaned on. It was the system that was the spearhead of the Satanic Panic. It survived that. It survived multiple editions. It survived acquisitions. And it survived its own mistakes with 4th edition. It will survive this. In what form, I don't know. And it will be defined not by one company. It will not be defined by Hasbro. It will not be defined by Wizards of the Coast. It will be defined entirely by us. And I don't mean us as in a third-party publisher. I mean us, the community. Remember, D&D is one of the few intellectual properties that does not exist unless we run it. If you look at FIFA on the shelf, that game exists, and you can play it by yourself if you wanted to, but it exists without our involvement. Dungeons & Dragons needs people to run the games that players play. So they cannot, D&D, if all the dungeon masters quit, D&D dies on that immediately. It's entirely based off of the community. And in many ways, one of the things that me and other people have suspected is that the one thing Wizard wants to do is trying to find a way to cut dungeon masters out of the equation so they don't rely on us, so they can't be swung left or right. What happens if the game masters or dungeon masters abandon the community, or abandon, the rule set. And so my thought and my message to people, a lot of people are saying they're abandoning 5th edition, they're abandoning D&D, they're going to move to Paizo, they're going to move to a dozen other systems, or they're going to go full OSR, or they're going to abandon other systems or what have you, but they're walking away from 5th edition. And my message to that is don't feel that you have to abandon 5th edition D&D. If you want to abandon Wizards of the Coast or D&D Beyond, go right ahead. But please don't feel that you have to abandon everything relating to D&D, because if everybody walks away from 5th edition, obviously you send a hard message to Wizards of the Coast, and then you'll promptly kill 1,000 third-party publishers that rely on D&D to survive. There's already legal language to protect 5th edition products from this 1.1. There's new systems, new ways of circumventing this, and legal proceedings are already being put forward by several companies. 5th edition D&D in the hands of third-party publishers will survive. And ultimately, that's the final message I want to give to people. Third-party D&D will survive. You don't have to abandon D&D. If you want to send a message and abandon Wizards of the Coast, if you want to not buy anything from Wizards of the Coast ever again, that's to tell your prerogative, and that definitely sends a message. But if you walk away from the rule set, you walk away from the third-party publishers that have been supporting this, that have been giving you the content. And I only ask is that you don't do that, and you still support third-party publishers, because we would like to keep on doing this forever. So that's basically all I'm going to say for this week. I'm recording this on a Thursday. I have to focus on creation rather than legal matters, because even I'm getting a little worn about everything. Something on the news pops up every day, and although I'm most likely going to be wrong, I'm not expecting this issue is going to be updated this week. I don't think so. I think that the cancellation today indicates that we're not going to see anything now until Monday at the very least. So I'm going to go back to creating stuff and finishing off Amethyst Factions. Still going to hold off the print on demands until I know what's going to happen. I don't want to release a print on demand with an unauthorized disclaimer and then find out that I can run the OGL and have to do it again. So that's it. That's my final message. If you like D&D, play D&D. If you don't want to involve Wizards, don't involve Wizards of the Coast. But don't feel that you have to abandon Dungeons & Dragons because the company who currently owns the trademark is being a little pissy. But anyway, that's me from Chris. This is Chris from Deus Ex Machina, and thank you for tolerating my rant.